Amanda Murmy had spent her entire youth devoted to one man, Avi Sotha, a passionate and kind-hearted military doctor. She believed without question that the promises he made, like marrying her no matter what, would one day come true. After all the years she waited and sacrificed for him, Amanda truly thought they would have their fairy tale ending. But at the very last moment, she realized something devastating. She had never truly existed in his heart. If you love emotional, heartwarming stories, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Let's dive into a tale that will stir your heart and stay with you long after the last word. It all clicked the moment she overheard Avi whispering sweet promises. Not to her, but to Emily Baraborg, his beloved sworn sister. He said he would take her to the city during the wedding celebration, stroll through the park with her, buy her candied hawthorns, watch movies, whatever she wanted. Amanda stood frozen. The wedding she'd been dreaming about? It was just a backdrop for Avi to spend time with someone else. Emily's voice came next, soft and spoiled. But your fiancé will be angry. And Avi replied with a calm that shattered Amanda's soul. She just wants to marry me. It doesn't matter if I disappear from the wedding. She'll still go through with it. That was the moment Amanda knew. Her love had been nothing more than a one-sided dream. The next day, dressed in her white lab coat, Amanda walked into the office of her superior. It was early winter, and she clutched her request form tightly. "Sir," she said calmly, "I'd like to apply for a marriage certificate." Commander Duong recognized her immediately, the fiancée of Captain Sotha, and offered a warm smile. "Dr. Murmy, congratulations. Be sure to invite us all to celebrate when the time comes." Amanda returned the smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Later that night, she filled out the marriage certificate. But in the section marked groom, she didn't write Avi Sotha. No, the name on the form was William Mully, a complete stranger, a stable and rational doctor arranged through a matchmaker in the capital. Amanda wasn't walking into love this time. She was leaping into the unknown, into a marriage without romance, but perhaps, just maybe, with a new beginning. She tucked the form carefully into the deepest drawer of her desk. Right beside it lay 300 yuan she had once saved as a bride price for Avi. Her eyes dimmed, her lips curled into a bitter smile. Everyone believed she and Avi would be married within the month. But last night, that illusion had crumbled. Amanda didn't even remember how she walked away from that room, where Avi held Emily so tenderly. She only knew one thing. She had once been the girl he promised everything to. She had followed him to this remote base, working as a military doctor just to stay close. She believed he had loved her. He used to stroke her hair with those calloused hands and promise, "I'll marry you no matter what." Back then, they were the golden couple everyone admired. Everything changed the day Emily appeared. She wasn't just anyone. Emily was Avi's sworn sister, someone his family had once owed a great debt to. After her parents died, she was entrusted to him. The first time Amanda met her, she was genuinely happy. She thought she'd gained a sweet little sister-in-law. But the next day, Amanda gave Emily an injection at the clinic. By evening, Emily's eyes were red from crying. "Captain Avi," she whimpered, "does your fiancé not like me? She gave me such a painful shot." I cried afterward. Before Amanda could even figure out what had happened, Avi burst into the clinic furious. "Amanda, do you even have a conscience? Emily is my sister. Even if you're jealous, this is too much." He stormed in like a hurricane, his eyes blazing. Emily, conveniently cradled in his arms, looked small and fragile. Amanda stood frozen, stunned. She had administered the injection with full care, and there were nurses who could vouch for her. Still, Avi refused to listen. The only one who tried to ease the situation? "Don't be mad at her," she sniffled. "I'm sure she didn't mean it. I'm okay." And just like that, Amanda's heart cracked wide open. Avi, things like this have happened too many times. I used to try to understand, to make excuses. But I've learned something. Whenever it involves Emily Baraborg, I'll always be the one misunderstood. What happened yesterday was just the final drop that overflowed the cup. In a whisper only she could hear, Amanda Murmy murmured to herself, Avi, I'm tired. So that evening, when her family called, she no longer pretended to be happy. She no longer made excuses to delay the engagement with Avi Sotha. Her voice choked, but her words were steady. I'll file the paperwork tomorrow. I'll come home next month. I'm not staying here anymore. She closed the drawer. That afternoon, she continued her shift at the clinic as if nothing had happened. Around dusk, Dr. Cal arrived to take over her shift. He looked at her with admiration. Amanda, you're really lucky. Today, Captain Avi stirred up the entire military base just to win the martial arts tournament. He wanted the prize for you. A Shanghai wristwatch. If every bride got a gift like that, they'd feel so proud. Her footsteps halted. She remembered. Avi Sotha had once asked her what kind of wedding gift she wanted. Without thinking, she'd said she liked wristwatches. But later, when she found out he sent half of his monthly stipend to the child of a fallen comrade, she'd immediately declined the idea. At the time, he had been touched. His deep voice so firm. Amanda, don't worry. I won't let you feel shortchanged. I want you to be the happiest bride in the world. She snapped out of the memory, her lips curling into a bitter smile. She had already decided to leave, so why remember things like that? When she returned from the clinic, she hadn't even stepped inside the house when she heard laughter echoing from within. It was Emily Baraborg's 19th birthday. She's a grown woman now. Here's a little something from me, someone teased. But Emily giggled. I just want to stay your little sister forever, Avi. Everyone gasped in admiration. The watch is gorgeous. The silver shines so brightly. Isn't that the prize Captain Avi risked injury for? He hurt his back, didn't he? When I have money, I'll buy one for my wife too. Emily beamed with joy, until she suddenly froze. Amanda Murmy had stepped into the room. Avi Sotha looked up a bit surprised. I thought you had the night shift? Emily Baraborg smiled sweetly. You came at the perfect time, sis. I was just craving taro and pork stew. She brushed her hair back, revealing the brand new silver watch on her wrist, elegant and flawless. But Amanda's eyes weren't fixed on the watch. What caught her attention was Emily's red snowflake pattern sweater, form-fitting, finely detailed. It was the one Amanda had hand-knitted. Every loop, every stitch, done by her. Her hands clenched. Holding herself together, she returned to her room and opened her closet. The sweater was gone. Outside, she heard Avi's displeased voice. We're all gathered for Emily's birthday. Where are you going? She stepped out, locking eyes with him. Avi Sotha, the red sweater Emily's wearing, it's mine. He frowned. She liked it, so I let her wear it. It's her birthday. You're her sister-in-law. You didn't even bring a gift. That's not okay. Emily bit her lip and acted pitiful. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have worn it. I'll take it off and give it back, okay? Before Amanda could respond, Avi set his chopsticks down with a heavy hand. It's just a sweater. If she's wearing it already, let her be. Why are you being so petty? Amanda, he said with a scowl, clearly losing patience. In his eyes, she was being difficult, making things hard for Emily, and embarrassing him in front of everyone. His comrades exchanged awkward glances, then quickly tried to smooth things over. Let's not argue. It's been a while since we've had your cooking, Amanda. Tonight's a real treat. Avi turned to her and ordered, Go make the taro pork stew. Make up for it. In the crowded room, her fingers trembled slightly. She clutched the hem of her shirt, and something inside her quietly shattered. After that, Amanda Murmy quietly looked at Avi Sotha for a moment, then turned and walked into the kitchen. He was right, if she'd already worn it, so be it. That red sweater. She had stayed up so many nights knitting it, stitch by stitch, planning to wear it on their wedding day. But now there would be no wedding. If Emily Baraborg liked it, let her keep it. That night, Avisotha ate with great enjoyment, even had a few drinks. At the end of the party, Emily affectionately wrapped her arm around his, lips curling in smug satisfaction. Today's my birthday. I have a lot I want to share with you, Avi. Just one night, all right? You don't mind, do you, sis? Amanda remained silent as she looked at the scene in front of her. The tall man, the petite girl clinging to his side. They looked like a perfect match. Before this, Avisotha had been the most principled man she knew. He had never been physically close to any other woman but her. Amanda's lashes lowered. Of course I don't mind. And one more thing. Don't call me that ever again. Avi, slightly tipsy, was taken aback for a moment. He heard her, but assumed she was just being moody again. That night, Amanda stayed up late writing her application to transfer departments before finally going to bed. Taro stew, delicious and also Avi's favorite dish. But he knew her hands were allergic to taro. The first time she had cooked it, her skin had broken out in red rashes and itched unbearably. He never let her cook it again. But last night, she had made it anyway. The allergic reaction flared up. Her hands swelled. The itch so intense she scratched until she bled. Sleep was impossible. The next morning, she had to stop by the clinic to ask for antihistamine. That afternoon, as soon as she opened the door to return home, she was met with Avi South's dark, furious face. His voice exploded in the hallway. I can't believe you'd do this. Emily said you started spreading rumors that she was having an affair with me. Are you trying to ruin a decent girl's life? She froze in place, as if a bucket of ice water had been dumped over her head. Never had she seen him look at her with so much hatred. It took her a few seconds to find her voice. In your eyes, is that the kind of person I am? Avisotha was stone cold. There's gossip going around that Emily is pregnant before marriage. Recently, she visited your clinic for a checkup. Who else could have leaked something like that, if not you? Amanda Murmy suddenly remembered that just a few days ago, Emily Baraborg had come by the clinic, saying she had stomach pains and needed to be examined. But ever since the first injection Amanda gave her, she had stepped back and let a colleague handle all further treatment. Swallowing the bitterness rising in her throat, Amanda spoke in a calm, even voice. I wasn't the one who examined her. And you know very well that I've always respected the privacy of every patient. You also know how much I love this job. Avi South's brows twitched. He couldn't deny that Amanda had always been a dedicated doctor. They met 3 years ago when she had pulled him back from the brink of death after a serious injury during a mission. Amanda had stayed up 2 nights straight to keep him alive. When he finally woke up, she was asleep by his bedside, her face exhausted. In that moment, he promised himself she would be the only one he loved for the rest of his life. But now, seeing her trying to keep her pain under control, Avi didn't even get a word in before Emily Baraborg flung herself into his arms, trembling like a fragile rabbit. Avi, everyone's saying I ruined someone else's relationship. They're trying to kick me out. I'm scared. His face darkened. His heart ached as he hugged her tightly. Then he turned to Amanda, his voice sharp with resolve. Amanda, go out there and clear this up. Say that Emily's not pregnant. Say she's not trying to destroy anyone's relationship. Say it was just you being jealous and saying nonsense. Amanda stood frozen. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her gaze locked on his, but all she saw in his eyes was blame. He went on, voice low but firm. Emily is still young. She can't bear this kind of gossip. Even if it's false, her reputation will be ruined. Only if you admit fault will people believe she's innocent. Besides, we're not married yet. These rumors are ridiculous. She trembled. What about my reputation? But in Avi's world, there was only Emily now, shaking in his arms. He frowned, clearly irritated. Why are you scared? I'm marrying you in a month anyway. I don't care what others say. With that, he helped Emily back into the room, leaving Amanda standing there, watching their backs fade down the hallway. Only after a long, aching pause did a cold, empty smile appear on her face. The next day, a nurse at the clinic, frustrated beyond words, told Amanda what had really happened. Emily had come in for a routine checkup. The doctor on duty simply mentioned a potential pregnancy and recommended further testing. Yet Emily had turned it into a sob story, claiming everyone was ganging up on her. The nurse scoffed. Dr. Murmy, what is that girl even thinking? Amanda simply shook her head. She didn't care anymore. For the next 3 days, Avi spent every free moment with Emily, comforting her, tending to her needs like she was the most fragile creature on earth. Amanda kept to herself, isolating in her room, not wanting to see any of it. She didn't even notice Emily's triumphant, smug glances whenever she got her way. That afternoon, Amanda remembered something, her transfer request. It must have been approved by now. Before heading home, she dropped by Commander Duong's office to check. But when she entered, she saw his uneasy expression. Dr. Murmy, he said slowly, I was just about to call for you. There's been an anonymous complaint. They're saying you've violated medical ethics. Until this is investigated, your transfer request can't be approved. The words hit her like a blow. If the accusation stuck, she wouldn't just lose the chance to transfer. Her entire medical career would be at risk. She might never be allowed to practice again. Her heart pounded. A ringing filled her ears. Still she fought to stay calm. Sir, you know I've always done my job with integrity. What exactly am I being accused of? By protocol, Commander Duong wasn't supposed to disclose details before the official investigation concluded. But after a pause he sighed and gently warned, Amanda, you and Captain So are supposed to be getting married soon, aren't you? Are you two having issues? If so, try to talk it out. Maybe things can still be fixed. Her nose stung, her vision blurred. When she finally got home, Avi was sitting by the bed, gently feeding Emily spoonfuls of congee. Amanda stepped in and he didn't even flinch.
No guilt, no hesitation.
He simply looked up and said in that same measured tone, Emily told me the nurse who examined her that day was one of your close colleagues. Are you really going to say you had nothing to do with this? He stared at her. I asked you to clarify things because I was giving you a chance to make this right. I know how much you love your career. That's exactly why you need to uphold your ethics. I filed the complaint because you need to remember this lesson. Amanda turned pale. She couldn't believe it. The person behind the accusation was him. Emily blinked and chimed in softly. If Sis doesn't want to clear things up, it's okay. I mean, you two are getting married next month. I don't mind being called names, as long as it doesn't ruin your wedding. Avi Sotha sneered coldly. A woman's reputation matters so much. How could you not understand that? You're a woman too. If you don't come forward to clear Emily's name, then forget about this wedding. Hearing those words, Amanda Murmy felt her already shattered heart break all over again. But at this moment, what mattered most was making sure her transfer application wasn't stalled. She steadied herself and forced her dry voice to remain calm. Fine. I'll speak up for Emily. But you have to withdraw the complaint. Only then did Avi Sotha nod in satisfaction. He knew just how much Amanda wanted to marry him. There was no way she'd allow anything to jeopardize the wedding. The next day, Amanda went to the political commissar. In front of everyone, she took the blame. She said that all the rumors had stemmed from her own moment of impulsive anger, and she confirmed that Emily Baraborg was completely innocent. Someone in the room scoffed. With such a vindictive personality, How can she ever be worthy of becoming a soldier's wife? Avisotha made her write a self-criticism statement on the spot, and personally posted it on the largest wall in the barracks. He looked at her coldly, his voice full of contempt and disappointment, no different from the onlookers enjoying the drama. From now on, I'll be watching you closely. No more incidents that would embarrass the families of soldiers. Her eyes turned red as she stared at the paper. The dried water stains had formed ugly rings, just like her heart, where once beautiful memories were now nothing but humiliating scars. In the end, Avi did withdraw the complaint. A few days later, she received the long-awaited transfer approval. Amanda carefully folded the form and tucked it into her luggage. There was only half a month left before she would leave this place. Lately, aside from finishing her duties, she had been visiting a small village near the military zone, continuing her years-long routine of providing free medical checkups to the elderly and children who couldn't afford treatment. Now that she was leaving, she wanted to help just a few more times while she still could. On her day off, she packed her medical bag and headed out, only to pass by Emily Baraborg, who suddenly stopped her with a probing gaze. "Sister-in-law, why haven't I seen you and Avi going out lately? What are you secretly up to?" Emily narrowed her eyes with a smirk, her tone dripping with insinuation. "Could it be, you're having an affair?" Amanda Murmy's expression immediately turned cold. She enunciated every word. "Don't project your own tendencies onto others." Emily raised an eyebrow and stepped closer. "Avi told me himself, he's never loved you. He agreed to marry you only because you saved his life 3 years ago." She stared at Amanda, waiting for the heartbreak to show on her face like always. But this time Amanda remained composed, calm to the point of apathy. Emily scoffed. "Still pretending? You think acting gracious will let you wedge yourself between me and him? Let me be clear. Avi promised me that on the wedding night, he'll run away and spend it with me. If you don't want the entire base to laugh at you, you'd better back off now." Amanda quietly studied the face that always played the victim around Avi. "And if I don't agree?" Emily curled her lips. "Then let's bet, see who he chooses." Amanda almost laughed. Who even cared anymore? What a waste, 3 years of youth spent on a foolish love. She turned and walked away, but couldn't stop the tears from falling. "Avi, if you were only with me out of gratitude, couldn't you have said so earlier?" That night, after returning from her volunteer work, Amanda felt heavy-hearted. The old woman in the village, someone Amanda had always cared for, had just suffered a tragedy. Her granddaughter had injured her eye and needed surgery in the city, but the family couldn't afford it. Amanda's heart ached for the little girl. If the bride price she'd saved up no longer held meaning, then maybe it was better spent saving a life. She went back to her room and opened the drawer. The moment she looked inside, she froze. The money was gone. Panic surged through her. She grabbed a flashlight and turned over every drawer, every corner of the room. Nothing. All that remained was the marriage registration form. Suddenly the door flew open. Avisotha stepped inside. Seeing her disheveled state, he frowned. "When did you register for marriage without telling me?" Amanda Murmy turned back, her gaze meeting his, and her heart twisted sharply. Thank goodness he hadn't opened the application yet. He had only asked casually and now smirked, chin tilted. "In such a rush? Can't even wait to marry me." She let out a soft breath. The tension in her chest eased just a little. Cold sweat dotted her brow. She didn't want to drag this out. "Where's the 300 yuan I kept in the drawer?" she asked directly. Avi South's voice was calm and indifferent. "Emily wanted to start a small business in town. She had no money, so I gave it to her." Her entire body froze. It felt like a wave of ice ran down her spine. Her voice trembled. "Do you know? I saved that money for 3 years." Avi frowned, clearly displeased. "You've never been someone who nitpicks about money. Why do you always have to go head-to-head with Emily about everything? She needed the money. I'll pay you back later if it's that big of a deal. Amanda lowered her head. Her voice was faint like drifting smoke. That money was for our wedding. Avi stiffened. A small frown appeared between his brows. He felt something was off, but couldn't quite grasp what it was. Seeing her disappointed expression, he felt a twinge of guilt and softened his tone. Amanda, I know you worked hard planning this wedding, but helping Emily right now is more important. Besides, you're a soldier's wife, you don't need anything fancy. A simple ceremony, a few dishes, and inviting the squad over to eat. That's enough, isn't it? She snapped her head up, staring at him. So in his eyes, marriage was nothing more than a meal. Not even worth as much as Emily Baraborg's birthday. For her birthday, he'd at least gifted a fine wristwatch and a brand new sweater. To Avi Sotha, marrying Amanda Murmy was just a way to repay a debt. He had never truly loved her. Yet she had counted down the days, held on to the dream, carved it into her heart. That night, he had originally planned to have dinner with her. But the moment Emily called, he left immediately. Their voices drifted from outside, growing more distant. Avi, you promised me. This whole month you'd be mine. He chuckled, rubbing her head affectionately. Not just this month. I'll always be your brother, only yours. Amanda's heart felt completely hollow. All she could think of was the sweet face of Sophia, the child who left her grandmother's home so obediently. Her chest tightened. She sat in silence for most of the night. Eventually, she carefully folded the marriage application and placed it in her suitcase. From the bottom of her bag, she took out a silver necklace, the only thing she had that could be considered a dowry from her family. She had once imagined wearing it on her wedding day, sparkling beneath the collar of her new red sweater, like a sacred ritual. But now that wasn't needed. She decided to sell it to pay for Sophia's eye surgery. It would be her final promise before leaving. The necklace was delicately crafted and easy to sell. A few days later, she heard of an aunt preparing for her daughter's wedding. The woman held the necklace up with a smile. This is beautiful, perfect for a wedding. Did your fiancé buy it for you? Seeing Amanda stay silent, the woman's voice softened. Did something happen at home? You wouldn't be selling this otherwise. Amanda gave a pained smile and nodded. Once she exchanged it for cash, she immediately delivered it to the old woman's house. She had already packed her things, ready to leave. Avi Sotha had gone on assignment that morning and wouldn't return tonight. Tomorrow, she'd board a senior officer's vehicle to the provincial train station, formally leaving this place. She wasn't even sure if she'd have the chance to say goodbye. After handing over the money, it was already completely dark. As she walked back to the base, lost in thought, two figures suddenly blocked her path. Emily Baraborg stepped forward, eyes full of accusation. Amanda, Avi already agreed to give me that money. If you didn't want to give it, you could have just said so. Why sneak around and steal from me? Amanda burst into a laugh, one born from disbelief and rage. Her voice turned cold as ice. If you want to accuse me, you'd better have proof. Emily's expression changed. Her fake innocence dropped. She sneered. No proof? I've got a witness. Emily Baraborg glanced at the man standing beside her, a sleazy hometown loafer whose sly, triangular eyes swept over Amanda Murmy, without even a shred of decency. He said smugly, Emily, didn't you lose $100? I saw her take it with my own eyes. Just now, she slipped a wad of cash to someone, must have been stolen. Amanda's instincts screamed that something was wrong. She turned to leave, but the man lunged and blocked her path, jabbing his hand at her. What's the rush, huh? Feeling guilty? Emily stood nearby, her eyes gleaming with malicious coldness. That was my business capital. If you're not going to return it, I'll have to search you myself. Humiliation flooded Amanda. She hadn't expected Emily to be so shameless. Terrified, she screamed for help, but the man clamped a hand over her mouth. In her moment of despair, Amanda remembered Avi South's combat training, how to strike at an enemy's weak points. She suddenly went limp, feigning submission, then jabbed her fingers hard into the man's eye. "Arg!" he shrieked in pain, clutching his face, his expression twisted with rage. He snapped, shoving her violently to the ground, and lunged forward. "You bitch! You've got fire in you, that turns me on even more." Utterly desperate, Amanda scrambled, her hands searching wildly until her fingers brushed against a sharp stone. Without hesitation, she slashed it across his face. Blood spurted as the man screamed in agony, rolling on the ground. Choking back sobs, Amanda staggered to her feet to run, but Emily suddenly grabbed her shirt. During the struggle, Emily's face twisted with hatred, but within a split second, it morphed into tearful panic. She screamed, "Sis, I didn't see anything, I swear. Please don't push me into the river. I don't want to die." Amanda froze in disbelief. Emily had clearly tried to drag her into the water, yet now she was playing the victim, crying like she'd been the one attacked. Suddenly, a deep voice barked, "Let her go." Avi Sotha appeared. Amanda's eyes welled with tears at the sight of him, her last sliver of hope. Her voice cracked as she called out, "Avi, it's me." But the next moment, Avi ran toward Emily and wrapped her in his arms. Then, without hesitation, he delivered a brutal kick straight into Amanda's chest. Boom! The world spun. Pain exploded through her ribcage before she even processed it. Her body flew into the freezing winter river. The water cut into her like knives. She couldn't swim. Flailing, Amanda barely broke the surface. She clawed her way to a rock on the riverbank and clung to it, gasping for air, only to hear Emily's tearful voice on shore. "Just now I caught her sneaking around here with some man doing who knows what. When I tried to stop her, she panicked and tried to drown me." Amanda's eyes widened in horror. She looked up at Avi, her face pale, her voice hoarse with cold and fury. "It wasn't me. It was her. She and that man set me up." But then Amanda realized the man was gone. Vanished. Avi's eyes darkened with fury. His voice was sharp as ice, words dripping from between clenched teeth. "Amanda Murmy, you dared to sneak around and betray me?" Shame, fear, rage, they all exploded in Amanda's mind. She gripped the rock with all her strength, her voice trembling. "Avi Sotha, I didn't do it. She's lying. Why won't you believe me?" Above her, the man who once swore he'd protect her for life now stared down coldly at her shivering form in the icy water. For a moment, doubt flickered in his eyes. But Emily clung to his chest, weeping. "Avi, it hurts. I thought I'd drown. I didn't think I'd ever see you again." She trembled in his arms. Her tears streamed down. That tiny shred of hesitation vanished from Avi's eyes. Now they were just cold, emotionless. "Amanda Murmy," he said flatly, "you not only betrayed me, you tried to kill Emily. Stay down there. Think about what you've done." He turned and walked away, holding Emily tightly. That final look, devoid of warmth, snuffed out the last light in Amanda's heart. There would be no one coming to save her. She struggled in the frigid water. Her body went numb. It took a painfully long time before she managed to grab onto a branch and crawl back onto land. She hadn't even caught her breath when a dark figure loomed. It was Avi Sotha again, his face filled with fury. "I told you," he snarled. "You keep targeting Emily because you're afraid she'll expose your filthy secrets, right?" He towered over her like a judge passing down a sentence. His voice was cold and emotionless. "Consider this me sparing you out of 3 years of familiarity. I won't report you to command, but you go lock yourself in the detention room." Amanda Murmy stood frozen, soaked through and shivering. Her lips were pale, her breath shaky. When she heard the words detention room, it felt like lightning struck her whole body. That was the place she feared the most. Since childhood, Amanda had suffered from nyctophobia, a paralyzing fear of the dark. Her voice trembled as she pleaded, "Please, just this once. Please believe me." But the man in front of her didn't waver. Without hesitation, Avisotha dragged her to the military holding cell and locked her inside the pitch-black room. Before slamming the iron door, he looked at her with disgust. "This is your punishment. Think about what you did. Think about how to apologize to Emily." The door clanged shut, and darkness swallowed her whole. The cold, moldy air clung to her skin. She slid down the icy wall, hugging herself tightly as her body convulsed from the chill. The pain in her chest flared. Then suddenly a warm metallic taste filled her mouth. Blood. She curled into herself, trying to shield her mind from the fear clawing at her from every direction. Avi knew. He knew she was afraid of the dark. And he still threw her in here like garbage. Amanda broke down. She pounded on the door, voice hoarse, nearly hysterical. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. Let me out. I'm begging you. I'm scared." But no one answered. Only the cold echo of her own voice bouncing off the steel walls. By morning, a sliver of light broke through as a key turned in the lock. Amanda, curled in a corner, opened her eyes weakly. She had been in there all night. It wasn't Avi who came for her. It was one of his subordinates, a young soldier who looked stunned when he saw her. "Mom, Captain Sotha didn't come. He took Emily to the clinic this morning. He just told me to bring you some water." The young soldier stared at her battered form, his jaw clenched. I can't keep pretending like I don't see this. Ma'am, you're seriously ill. Just get some rest for now. I'll talk to the captain myself. You two are getting married soon anyway. It's probably all just a big misunderstanding. We're all still waiting to drink at your wedding." Everyone on base knew what kind of person Amanda was. Kind-hearted, open, and the woman who had given her entire youth to love Avisotha. There was no way she could be the kind of person Emily claimed she was. Amanda tried to stand but collapsed to her knees. It took a long time before she finally made her way out of that dark room. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Thank you." When she got home, she peeled off her blood-stained clothes with shaking hands. She stood before the mirror and saw a stranger. Her eyes were lifeless, her lips cracked, her face gaunt and terrifying. She stared for a long moment. Then suddenly the reflection smiled. "So this is how your 3 years of loyalty and love ends, Amanda Murmy," she said aloud to herself. The smile faded as tears streamed down her face. She quietly packed her things and closed the door behind her with a soft click. So soft it was like she'd never even been there. 30 minutes later, a military jeep drove out of the base, kicking up a trail of dust behind it. Inside, Amanda was on her way to the city. At that exact moment, Avisotha stepped out of the medical clinic and frowned, watching the departing vehicle. A strange unease crept into his chest. Beside him, Emily Baraborg emerged, her arm carefully bandaged. She moved slowly, trying to protect the child she claimed to be carrying. No one really knew who the father was, but that didn't matter. She would make sure Avisotha became the father soon enough. "Avi," she said softly, "I'm still scared about running into your fiancé." He turned his gaze back to her, voice deep and reassuring. "Don't worry. I won't let her hurt you again. If you're that scared, stay here a little longer. Let her think it over in the detention room. In the meantime, I'll request leave and take you somewhere relaxing." That evening, the town welcomed its first snowfall of the season. Inside a state-owned restaurant, Avi stared out the window, watching flakes drift down gently. His brows furrowed. It had been nearly 2 full days since Amanda was locked up. She hated the cold. She hated the dark. Could she really endure all this? Emily, glowing from a full day of shopping at the department store, noticed his silence. She gently placed food on his plate. "Are you worried about her?" she asked, biting her lip delicately. "Maybe we should go back early." I'll stay out of her way. She won't even see me. Avi scoffed. Worried? Why would I worry about someone who made such a serious mistake? I've already been more than generous. Before I left, I told the guards to bring her water and food. She'll be fine. She's tougher than you, Emily. Not as delicate. Looking at Emily Baraborg's pitiful, teary-eyed face, Avi once again softened. Emily, I promised your parents I would treat you like my own sister. I'll always protect you. From now on, I won't let anyone bully you, including your sister-in-law. Emily gave a soft smile, but in her eyes flashed a hint of hatred. The next day, Avi finally returned to the base. On the way, Emily spoke gently beside him. Maybe Amanda just had a lapse in judgment. Maybe it's best if you let it go this time. After all, your wedding is tomorrow. Just talk things out. The word wedding made Avi's expression darken. He said nothing. Truthfully, he didn't believe Amanda Murmy had really betrayed him. But the fact that Emily had caught her in a seemingly ambiguous situation meant she hadn't been careful enough. She hadn't respected their relationship. He had to teach her a lesson, to show her that being Avi South's wife meant not speaking or laughing carelessly with other men. After 2 days in detention, surely she had reflected on her actions. If she apologized to Emily Baraborg today, the wedding could still go on. He knew how much she had longed for that day. He had even checked the calendar in advance. Tomorrow was an auspicious day for a wedding. Rushing back to the base, the icy ground made his footsteps quicken. Behind him, Emily called out several times, but he didn't hear. But when he opened the detention room door, he froze. The room was empty. Who gave you permission to release her? He asked, face darkening but without rage. The young soldier under his command lowered his head, looking conflicted. Captain, she had a high fever. She was coughing up blood. I was worried something might happen, so I let her go home to rest. Avi's hands clenched. He dashed home, but no one was there either. Pulling open drawers and cabinets, dread surged up in his chest. Emily, he snapped. Could Amanda have gone looking for that man? Her expression turned cautious. Maybe she's trying to pressure you. His voice turned ice cold. If she dares, I'll break her legs. He stormed out, searching all the places Amanda frequented. But she was nowhere to be found. In a fury, he barged into the clinic. Where is Amanda Murmy? If she keeps pulling this disappearing act, there won't be a wedding tomorrow. The medical staff stared at him, confused. Captain, didn't you know? Dr. Murmy submitted her resignation several days ago. Avi went stiff. His fury hadn't even fully faded when his eyelid twitched. Resigned? Amanda, who had always valued her career so deeply, just left like that? A strange discomfort spread from his chest to his limbs. His head pounded. His heart raced. Behind him, Emily Baraborg faked a gasp. She really quit. Maybe she's just trying to get a reaction out of you. Isn't that childish? Avi exhaled slowly, his tone cold. You're right. She's testing me because tomorrow's the wedding. She's trying to cause drama. He recalled the marriage certificate she had once placed in the drawer. His lips curled bitterly. Fine. If she wants to throw a tantrum, she can keep playing. If she doesn't want the wedding, she can say it. No need for mind games. If she doesn't show up, then we'll cancel it. Emily's eyes glinted with triumph. Her lips curved into a smug smile. But just then, a nurse suddenly stood up, face burning with suppressed anger. Captain, even if Dr. Murmy were here right now, I'd advise her not to marry you. Avi glared at the nurse, annoyed. But she didn't back down. For 3 years we've watched her give everything for you. I remember when she first arrived. An only child, she didn't even know how to cook. But she learned just so she could prepare full meals for you. She had a salary and allowance like the rest of us. Even I, just a nurse, managed to buy a few new clothes. But all year long, I never once saw her wear anything new. She told me she was saving up for the wedding. The nurse's fists trembled with emotion, and the only thing she bought for herself was a skein of red yarn. She knit it into a sweater, stitch by stitch, to wear on your wedding day. But now you say there's no need to marry? Avi stood frozen. Red sweater. He remembered. He'd carelessly handed a brand new, form-fitting red sweater to Emily. That was why Amanda had reacted so strongly. He pressed his fingers to his temple, brows furrowed. Why hadn't she said anything? If he had known it was her wedding sweater, he never would have given it away. He staggered out of the clinic stunned. Behind him, Emily trailed after, clutching her stomach. Avi, that day when she pushed me, I twisted my ankle. I didn't say anything because I didn't want you to worry. But it really hurts. Avi stopped. He turned eyes icy. Take off the sweater. Return it to Amanda. Emily froze, staring at him in disbelief. What did you say? Avi locked eyes with the red sweater beneath her coat. This sweater is special. Give it back to Amanda. I'll buy you a new one. Emily's face crumpled, eyes brimming with tears. Her lips trembled. Seeing her like that, Avi hesitated. He sighed. Forget it. Right now the important thing is finding Amanda. He figured she was just hiding somewhere sulking. She'd be back by tonight. On the way home, the nurse's words echoed in his mind. She had followed him to this remote base. Never once complained in 3 years. Fine. Tonight he'd find her. He wouldn't argue anymore. He remembered what the young soldier had said. When she was released, Amanda had a high fever and was coughing blood. His brow furrowed. That day he had kicked her. Hard. Maybe too hard. But she had insulted Emily. He had to do it. Still, if she didn't oppose Emily anymore, he would go through with the wedding. She'd never suffer again. Rushing home, Avi flung open the door. The house was pitch black. Empty. But not just empty, hollow. The shelves were bare. The books gone. The closet empty. Even the bed looked untouched, like no one had ever lived there. Amanda Murmy had already left with her luggage. Avi Sotha stood frozen in place. His mind was a complete blank, like something had exploded inside his head, leaving behind a deafening void. Suddenly something struck him. He rushed to the drawer and flung it open. Sure enough, the marriage registration form was gone too. He clenched his fists. It's okay. He tried to steady himself, whispering. She just took it out of anger. She's still waiting for me to come and talk her down. But the more he told himself that, the more that creeping sense of dread grew. Then, a memory flashed through his mind. A military jeep had left the base the afternoon before, headed toward the city. Through the window, he caught a glimpse of a familiar face. At the time, he hadn't thought much of it. But now, Avi's heart tightened sharply. His expression darkened, and he immediately turned and stormed outside. Just as he reached the gate, he slammed straight into someone. Captain Sotha, do you know Emily Baraborg? She just got caught with a wanted criminal. At the police station, Emily's face was pale with terror. She huddled into herself like a frightened child. When she saw Avi Sotha enter, she burst into tears. Avi, please help me. They've made a mistake. I don't even know that guy. Avi's mind was still clouded with thoughts of Amanda. He looked exhausted, but he still stepped forward and shielded Emily, his voice cold. You should at least check the facts before arresting someone. Emily is like a sister to me. How could a girl like her have anything to do with a criminal? He was about to take her away when a police officer stopped him. Captain Sotha, we have both evidence and witnesses. Even if she's your sister, we can't just let her go. In a corner of the room, the suspect was crouched, cradling his head. He narrowed his eyes and growled toward Avi. You her lover or something? Figures. Must be some big shot. If you don't pay for my medical bills, I'll expose everything you two have done. Avi's face turned stone cold. His eyes filled with disgust. "You're talking nonsense. Shut your mouth." The man, his face covered in scars, looked twisted with rage and hate. He glanced between the two, then let out a nasty smirk. "What, you don't know your precious little adopted sister is pregnant? Doesn't seem like it's yours though, huh?" The words struck Avi like a thunderclap. He spun around to face Emily. She was trembling, lips pressed into a tight line, eyes filled with panic, but then she immediately lunged into his arms, crying harder. "Avi, please just take me home. He's slandering me. I don't even know that man. How could I ever show my face again if people believe this?" Avi held her tightly. He didn't care anymore. He just wanted to get her out of there. But then a voice rang out that made him stop cold. "And you, Emily Baraborg, didn't you promise me $200 if I flirted with that woman named Mermy? Now my face is ruined because of her. My life is over. You really thought you could run from this? You thought I'd let you go." Emily's face went ghost white. She could feel the grip of Avi's arm tightening around her. She knew he'd frozen. Panic surged. She bit her lip and forced out a few tears. "Avi, don't listen to him. He's lying. I swear, I don't know that man." But when she looked up, she met Avi's eyes. They were pitch black, deep and hollow, filled with something unfathomable. His whole body stiffened like ice. After a long pause, he turned back toward the man and glared. "Say that again." The man faltered under the intensity of his stare, but the next second Avi lunged. He grabbed the man by the throat and slammed him against the wall. "I said, say that again." Emily Baraborg panicked and rushed forward, grabbing Avi South's arm in desperation. "Avi, that guy's just a thug. He's lying for money. Don't believe him, please." But before she could finish her sentence, a violent force shoved her backward. Her body slammed hard against the edge of a table. The pain was so intense she nearly passed out. She bit her lip and raised her head, her eyes filled with horror. Avi didn't even glance at her. The veins on his forehead bulged with rage as he tightened his grip around the man's neck, his voice low and dangerous. "Say it again. Where did you touch her?" The surrounding officers tried to intervene, but Avi didn't loosen his hold. The man's face turned red as he gasped, choking and trembling, finally spilling everything under pressure. Emily tried to stop it, but it was too late. The truth had come out. Panic and despair surged through her. She suddenly clutched her stomach and whimpered. "Avi, my stomach. I hit it earlier, it hurts. Can you take me to the clinic first?" It was only then that Avi seemed to remember she was even there. He turned his bloodshot eyes toward her, and the look he gave her made her freeze. Before she could react, smack! A harsh slap cracked across her face. Her body staggered, her head whipping to the side. She stared at him stunned. It wasn't the pain that made her tremble. It was the realization. The man who once treated her like fragile glass had just struck her. For real. Tears rolled down her cheeks as her body shook like a terrified animal. But Avi looked at her with nothing but sheer contempt. "Emily Baraborg," he growled. "Amanda is your future sister-in-law. You dare to pull this kind of stunt behind my back? Do you have any idea what you've done to her?" Emily's fear broke into full-blown hysteria. She screamed, wild and unhinged. "You hit me for that woman. You promised you'd always belong to me. What right does that bitch have to steal you from me?" Avi's eyes closed. His fists clenched so tightly his knuckles turned white. When he opened them again, his stare was ice cold. He turned to the military police. "Detain them both. They committed crimes inside a restricted zone. Pursue the harshest disciplinary actions available." Then he turned and walked away, leaving Emily curled on the floor, crying and shaking in agony. He had no time to waste. He had to find Amanda. That night, long after midnight, fists pounded urgently on Commander Duong's door. Startled, the older man threw on a coat and opened it. Standing there was Avi Sotha, eyes bloodshot, looking like a man who'd been drowning, clinging to his last hope. "Commander, I was told Amanda came to see you before she left. You know where she went, don't you? Please, where is she?" Commander Duong looked at him for a long moment, then sighed deeply. "Where else would she go? Home. Dr. Murmy's family lives in the capital. She's just going back to get married." The words hit Avi like a slap to the soul. It was the start of the new year. Snow blanketed the entire capital in silence and white. A slender figure stepped out of an exam building, her breath visible in the winter air. She had just finished a certification test. Suddenly, a tall man appeared before her, gently wrapping a scarf around her neck. "Congratulations, Amanda," William Mully said softly. The scarf, still warm with his touch, was gently draped over her neck to block the biting wind. Amanda Murmy looked up at the young man in front of her, a bit awkward, and murmured, "Thank you, Dr. Mully. But I just finished the exam. I don't even have the results yet." William Mully smiled softly behind his silver-rimmed glasses, his calm eyes shining with certainty. "I believe in you. No matter the result, having the courage to enter the exam room is already a victory." His voice was warm, like a cup of hot milk in the freezing winter. And that warmth stirred something in Amanda's memory. It brought her back to a month ago, the day she left the military zone to return to the Murmy family, an influential household in the medical world. Her parents had arranged a marriage alliance with the Mully family. The groom? None other than William Mully, the eldest grandson, just returned from overseas and now an associate professor at Cleveland Hospital. Truthfully, the marriage registration form she once signed was just a desperate attempt to push herself to leave. Even after getting off the train, her chest still ached, her fever hadn't fully broken, her face was pale and gaunt, her body covered in wounds. Her parents panicked and rushed her to the hospital. The young doctor who treated her wore a mask. But as soon as he checked her injuries, his eyes turned sharp and serious. His steady voice made her feel strangely safe. "Do you want me to report this to the police?" he asked. Amanda quickly explained she had just returned from the military base and was injured by accident on the road. A few days later, once her health improved, she formally met the man arranged to be her fiancé. To her surprise, it was that very doctor. The Murmy family, knowing the hardship Amanda had faced during her military service, didn't push her to get married right away. During her meeting with William, she had planned to make her feelings clear, that she wasn't ready. But he spoke first. Sitting upright, fingers calmly interlaced on the table, his handsome face was sincere. "Miss Murmy, things are different nowadays. People value love and freedom. You don't need to feel bound by this arrangement between families." Amanda looked at him surprised, but he continued, "However, I understand your parents want to fulfill your grandfather's final wish. So I propose we get engaged first. Consider it an act of respect for him." His tone remained steady. "As for the future, I heard you want to pursue a master's in medicine. Go for it. I won't interfere with any of your decisions. Not even about this engagement." Amanda stared at him for a few seconds, finally understanding his intentions. This marriage arrangement, her parents only pushed it forward because of her grandfather's deteriorating health. And William, his proposal held no trace of selfishness. In fact, he was sacrificing for her. Biting her lip, Amanda looked into his honest eyes. She thought of the 3 years she had spent away from her grandfather, chasing her own path while he grew older. She felt she had been too self-centered. In a moment of emotion, she nodded. Both families were pleased and soon hosted the engagement ceremony. Now she had been home for over a month but still hadn't adjusted. Suddenly having a polite, distant fiancé who treated her with such perfect courtesy, it felt surreal. Even in the military, she had managed to keep up with her studies. And though she had only a month to prepare, she thought she had done well on the test. Plus, this so-called fiancé had been incredibly helpful during that time. With the exam over, her tense nerves finally loosened. She decided to invite William for a meal to thank him. The restaurant wasn't far from the exam center. The two walked slowly along a snow-covered path. While ordering, William noticed old and new bruises on her hands. The cold had made them more visible. His elegant brows furrowed slightly, a subtle flicker of pain in his eyes. "You went through a lot in the military," he said quietly. That unexpected line made her heart feel hollow for a moment. Lately, she had been so consumed with studying she hadn't thought about the past. But that one line shattered her mental wall and brought back memories she had tried to bury. Amanda smiled. To suffer for your country is a kind of happiness. But the moment she said it, she realized that sentence wasn't hers. It was Avi Sau's. And over time, it had become her own reflex to say it. William noticed the flicker in her eyes but didn't press. Instead, he gently asked the server for a cup of hot tea to warm her hands. After they finished eating, Amanda reached for the bill, but he stopped her with calm composure. "You just finished your exam. I'm your fiancé. If I can't treat you to one meal, what kind of man am I? Next time you can pay." Every time Amanda Murmy heard him naturally say the words "my fiancé," there was always a strange feeling stirring inside her. She'd heard it enough times to get used to it, but at this moment, a voice suddenly rang out from across the street, and Amanda's entire body froze. "Comrade Ha, thank you so much." Her foot slipped slightly on the snow, and she nearly fell. Luckily, William Mully caught her just in time. "Amanda, be careful. Amanda, watch out." Two voices overlapped in her ears like an explosion inside her head. She whipped around instantly, and her eyes locked onto a face she knew far too well. Avi Sotha. William Mully noticed she had bumped into his shoulder, and quickly raised a hand to gently rub the spot for her. "You okay?" he asked, concerned. But Amanda's gaze was vacant. William followed her line of sight and saw a man across the street in a perfectly pressed military uniform. His dark eyes, as cold as ice, were locked on them. The expression in those eyes was so complicated, it was hard to put into words. Finally, he stepped forward. His voice was low and hoarse, like it had traveled through a blizzard. "Amanda, I finally found you." Amanda turned pale in an instant, her red lips losing all color. Every sense in her body seemed to shut down. The day she left the military zone felt like her soul had been ripped out. She couldn't hide the panic and confusion in her eyes. Why in such a huge country across thousands of miles was Avi Sotha here? Not far away, Avi had noticed her fearful, evasive gaze. His steps slowed. His heart ached like it had been sliced with a knife. Since the moment he learned she hadn't been hiding from him, but had instead taken her official residency documents and permanently left the military unit to return home, he had felt like a broken watch, lost and aimless. He couldn't believe Amanda Murmy had just left. Without a word. They were supposed to get married the next day. Frantic, he'd rushed to the train station that very night, but her silhouette was nowhere to be found. He tried to convince himself she was just mad and would come back eventually. But when he returned home and found her room empty, day after day passed. Eventually he had to accept the truth. She was gone. She had let go of everything. Let go of the home they were about to build. Erased every trace of their love. Vanished entirely from his life. Commander Duong had seen him dragging his scruffy self to the clinic every day. Beard unkempt. The man could only shake his head and sigh in the end. "Captain Sotha, I'm just going to say it. Do you forget who it was that personally reported Dr. Murmy and nearly got her fired? Who made her write a self-criticism like a criminal, forcing her to endure whispers and humiliation? And now you act like you're sorry? What for?" Avi Sotha opened his mouth to reply, but nothing came out. He had been fooled by Emily Baraborg over and over again, But now, even if he tried to explain, what good would it do? Amanda Murmy had already left. She didn't need him anymore. He'd had countless chances to trust her. But he never did. All he ever did was let her down over and over again. Half a month passed in a blur. Only when he heard the news that Emily Baraborg had miscarried and temporarily escaped prison time, did he finally reluctantly go to the hospital. That day, at the police station, he had shoved Emily. She'd hit the table, and later that night was admitted to the hospital to protect the child. She claimed the baby was Avi Sau's. But Avi wasn't going to let it go. When he entered the hospital room, Emily lay on the bed looking fragile, like she could collapse at any moment. The moment she saw him, tears welled in her eyes. "Avi, I only did what I did because I loved you so much. I was afraid some other woman would steal you away." She still looked like an innocent girl begging for forgiveness after making a mistake. Avi didn't approach. He stood at a distance, leaning against the wall, refusing to take a single step closer. His eyes were dark, his gaze icy cold. "So, it's true you were pregnant. And it was also you who started the rumors. You've only been with me for 3 years. How can that possibly compare to the bond Amanda and I have had since childhood?" She suddenly burst into tears, screaming in despair. "Avi, didn't you only marry her because you felt indebted? Now that she's gone, isn't that perfect? We can finally be together, openly and freely. You promised me. Did you forget?" Avi clenched his fists tightly. After a long pause, he slowly turned his head. His eyes were colder than they had ever been. "In my heart, there has only ever been Amanda. I didn't marry her out of obligation. I married her because I love her. I wanted to keep her by my side forever. As for you, I only treated you kindly because I owed your aunt and uncle. Who do you think you are, to even compare yourself to Amanda?" With that, afraid he might lose control and lash out, he turned and walked away. But behind him, a bitter, mocking laugh rang out. Emily laughed like someone who had lost her mind. "Funny, isn't it? I've never seen you love her. It's me you love. You love me, don't you?" Her words, along with the memory of Amanda, cut into his heart like a blade. For half a month he lived with that torment. Only when he saw Emily being led away to prison did he volunteer for a dangerous mission. He nearly lost his life, just for the chance to be transferred to the capital. And now, seeing Amanda again, joy and fear flooded his eyes at once. He didn't dare take a step closer. But who was the man beside her? The thought filled him with jealousy. He remembered what Commander Duong had said, that she had returned to the capital to get married. No.
Impossible.
She had loved him that much. How could she just marry someone else so easily? His expression darkened, his voice heavy with regret. "Amanda, I know I was wrong. I'm here to bring you home. From now on, I'll make it right." Amanda's heart sank. But before she could say a word, William Mully stepped in front of her. His voice was cold, sharp with warning. "I don't care who you are, step aside. She's my fiancée." Avi Sotha instantly clenched his fists. His eyes locked on Amanda.
No.
"Amanda, you're my wife. Have you forgotten? We're supposed to be married tomorrow." The moment he finished speaking, a heavy punch landed straight across his face. Thud. William Mully didn't hold back. His voice dropped frosty. "Watch your mouth." Avi Sotha could have countered immediately, but the wound on his shoulder hadn't healed. The move just now triggered a sharp pain. As he staggered and looked up, Amanda Murmy had already walked away. "Amanda!" he called out in panic, but she didn't turn around. The whole way back, she couldn't calm down. Only when standing beneath the building did she slowly regain her composure. William Mully looked at her, his eyes full of concern. She took a deep breath and decided to be direct. Even if the engagement is only a formality, it still deserves the minimum respect. "The man just now is someone I used to love back in the military zone. We had talked about marriage before. Thinking about everything that had happened, she couldn't help but sniff slightly to steady her voice. Calmly, she said, "We've broken up. Completely. I don't have any lingering feelings and I owe him nothing. I never expected him to come looking for me." Right, why had Avisoda shown up here? He said he realized he was wrong. Ridiculous. Did he really come all this way across the country just to find her? Ready to leave Emily Barabord behind? Or was it just his pride being challenged, because she had left without a word? Whatever the reason, she didn't want to see him ever again. William Mully stayed silent while she spoke. His hand tightened beside his pants. Amanda continued, "If this bothers you, we can cancel the engagement now." "No," he cut her off immediately, his voice tense. Realizing he reacted too quickly, he pushed his glasses up slightly to hide the hurt and adjusted his tone, coughing lightly. "What I meant is, if we break off the engagement now, he'll only have more chances to bother you. If I'm by your side, I can protect you anytime." Amanda paused. But wouldn't that trouble him? He had just punched Avisoda. She was already worried. After all, Avi was a soldier. If it really turned into a fight, she feared William might be at a disadvantage. But William just gave a faint smile. His gaze carried a hidden meaning. "Don't worry. I'm not that easy to mess with. You can trust me." After sending her home, William Mully stepped downstairs. Remembering how her eyes had reddened earlier, his own gaze darkened. He took out his phone and dialed. "It's me. I know she went through a lot back at the military zone. Now that she's back, I can finally feel at ease. But look into everything that happened before she left thoroughly." Amanda never expected William to be so true to his word. Lately, whenever she went out, if he wasn't on duty, he'd show up to pick her up. Luckily, Avisoda hadn't shown up again. She finally felt at ease. Right before the new year, the final exam results came out. Her parents had asked around in advance. Good news came. She had scored high enough to become a student under a prestigious professor. Everyone in the family was overjoyed. "See? I told you. Our daughter absolutely can succeed on her own merit. No need for backdoor help." Her father, deputy director of the affiliated hospital, was pleased too. "I didn't interfere at all, okay? I always had faith in Amanda's ability." She was happy too. Proving herself was enough. She had finally let go of all the past sadness. That night, her mother said someone had heard the news about her passing the exam and wanted to bring a cousin over to celebrate and ask for a bit of her luck. A full meal was prepared. Outside, a loud voice from an aunt rang out. Her mother went to greet them and was surprised. "Oh wow! You even brought an important guest along?" The aunt excitedly introduced. "Amanda, this is a leader who was just transferred from the military zone to the place where your cousin's husband works. What a coincidence. It's the same military unit you used to work at." Her mother immediately smiled warmly. "Is that so? This young captain is so talented. Amanda, do you know him?" She was holding a teacup when her hand suddenly froze. At the door, a tall man slowly took off his officer's cap. His deep eyes locked onto hers. "Dr. Murmy. Long time no see." At the dining table, everyone chatted and laughed. "You two really know each other? What a small world. Captain Soda, did you know? My niece comes from a prestigious family of doctors. Even Tuliva owes her current position to her uncle's support. She's working as a nurse at the hospital now and wants to follow in her cousin's footsteps to earn her certification." Her aunt glanced toward her daughter, subtly signaling her to strike up a conversation. Amanda Murmy's parents caught on immediately. That woman didn't come just to celebrate. She clearly wanted to pair her daughter with this officer. Amanda's mother smiled brightly, praising the young man and her niece, completely unaware of the silence on her daughter's face. Amanda didn't understand what Avisoda was trying to pull. The moment she saw him standing at her front door, All she wanted was to throw him out. But when her cousin shyly started talking to him, she couldn't speak up. Her parents only knew she once loved someone from the base. They had no idea it was Avi himself. She kept her head down, quietly ate a few bites, and was just about to excuse herself when... So Dr. Murmy left the base because the conditions were too harsh to handle? That low, raspy voice cut straight through the room. Amanda paused slightly, her delicate brows furrowing. Her mother cheerfully replied, "Oh, Captain Soth, actually Amanda came home to get married. She's not young anymore, and we're finally relieved she's settling down." Avi's hand clenched around his chopsticks. Hearing it with his own ears, that she was really marrying someone else, sent a sharp pain through his chest. His eyes darkened. This wasn't an era where arranged marriage was forced on anyone. If Amanda didn't want it, no one could make her. The entire table fell silent. "What are you trying to say?" Amanda suddenly looked up, her eyes cold and sharp. "No one is forcing me. Dr. Mully is thoughtful, respectful, and always puts me first. We understand each other perfectly." Avi's jaw tensed. His pupils shrank. He heard the message behind her words loud and clear. But he wasn't about to let go. He had grown used to having her by his side, used to her always tolerating everything for his sake. But that would never happen again. Amanda no longer cared about his reaction. She used the excuse of losing her appetite to excuse herself from the table. Avi's eyes followed her fading figure, his expression growing darker. Beside him, her cousin, Charlotta, silently observed, frowning slightly. "Amanda, I brought you some sugar-roasted chestnuts," a voice called. The front door hadn't been fully closed. William Mully had just gotten off work and, as always, brought something for her. He had heard her say she had no appetite the moment he stepped inside. Amanda's mother beamed with delight upon seeing her future son-in-law. "William, you're too much. You're going to spoil her rotten bringing food like this every day." William glanced at the man seated at the table but smiled calmly. "Amanda's outstanding. Doing these little things for her means nothing to me. It's what I should do." Amanda's aunt teased him. "Worried your wife might run away, huh?" Amanda wasn't sure if William had overheard the earlier conversation. She bit her lip, slightly flustered as she took the chestnuts. William rolled up his sleeves and looked at her seriously. "You lost your appetite? I'll make you some steamed egg with minced meat, okay? Didn't you say last time you loved it?" Without waiting for an answer, he headed straight for the kitchen. Amanda's mother pretended to scold her for being spoiled but couldn't hide her smile. Avi clenched his chopsticks. She didn't say no. She just sat there quietly waiting for that man to cook for her. He remembered those 3 years at the base. He was the one waiting at the table while Amanda cooked for him, gentle and kind. Now everything has reversed. His chest tightened with the discomfort he couldn't express. Her aunt kept gushing over how lucky she was. Then Charlotta suddenly spoke up. "Dr. Mully works all day and still comes home to cook? Cousin, you're really living the dream. But if you're used to being pampered like that, how did you survive those 3 years at the military base?" She let out a mocking laugh, her tone playful. "Don't tell me there's someone treating people like royalty even at the base, just like Dr. Mully?" Amanda Murmy bit into a chestnut, her eyes turning cold. She was just about to respond when a low, firm voice cut in before her. "Dr. Murmy has never been weak." The voice was steady and resolute. "She's always been serious about her work, independent, strong, unafraid of hardship. No matter the task, she was always the first to volunteer. She's a doctor deeply respected and loved by everyone at the base." Avi Soth spoke with conviction, then shot a cold glance at Charlotta. Caught off guard, Tuette forced a nervous smile and tried to smooth things over. "Tuette, stop saying silly things. Your cousin is incredibly capable. How could you joke like that?" Amanda quickly withdrew her gaze and lowered her head in silence. So that's how Avi Soth had always seen her? Someone strong, someone who could endure pain, Someone who didn't need anyone? Was that why he treated her like that all along, misunderstanding her, dismissing her, ignoring her? Just because she wasn't as fragile as Emily Baraborg? Because she didn't play the part of someone needing protection? He had convinced himself she didn't need love at all. She stayed quiet for a long time. Then suddenly she smiled, and all the hurt in her eyes vanished. Dinner came to an end, but Avi didn't leave immediately. He waited downstairs for a long while, until Amanda came out to see William Mully off. She glanced at Avi briefly and turned to William. "I have a few words for him. Could you wait for me a moment?" William reminded her gently, "Don't go far. Stay where I can see you." Avi glared at him, his eyes full of fury. But when Amanda stepped closer, his throat moved as if trying to speak, yet no words came. She was the one who broke the silence. "We've broken up. Please don't come looking for me anymore." Avi's brows furrowed in pain. "Amanda, I owe you. Just give me one last chance and I'll make it right. Let's go back to the way we were. Please." He still believed that he was the only one in her heart, that there was no way she could settle for someone else, that she would never be able to leave him. But her voice was calm. "Avi Sotha, I've already given you too many chances. I truly don't love you anymore." He assumed she was just angry and quickly replied, "You're still upset about Emily Baraborg, aren't you? Don't worry. Everyone who ever hurt you has paid for it. Emily's in prison now. I'll never believe a word she says again. I'll never see her again." His voice cracked, emotion rushing in. "Every time I see her face, I'm reminded of how I misunderstood you, how I hurt you that night." His eyes filled with sorrow and regret. "I'll make every one of them pay for what they did to you. From now on, I won't let you suffer again. Amanda, please. Please come back to me." Amanda looked at him with tearful eyes, the corners of her eyes red. Then she burst out laughing. "Avi Sotha, do you think I left just because of Emily Baraborg?" She let out a breath, filled with bitterness and helplessness. "It's true there was a time I envied her. But after that, I stopped caring, because the one who deserved punishment the most was you." After that conversation, Avi never came to see her again. She finally felt like she could sever the past for good. After the new year, Amanda began her internship at the professor's hospital, which by coincidence was the same hospital where William Mully worked. And after his proposal to maintain the fake engagement to protect her, he stopped hiding his feelings altogether. If he wasn't bringing her lunch, he was waiting to take her home. Everyone at the hospital knew that the cold, proud Dr. Mully now had a fiancée, and he doted on her so much it made others envious. In the break room, the other doctors would often tease, "So when do we get to drink your wedding wine, huh?" Just as Amanda Murmy was still struggling to figure out what to say, she ran into Avi Sotha again, this time at the hospital. He had a bandage wrapped around his shoulder, his face weary and drawn. In a hoarse voice he explained, "I just got back from a mission last night." In the past, every time he returned from a mission, he'd be injured. And every time she would worry endlessly, always dressing his wounds herself. There was a time when he was seriously hurt. An old wound reopened and the bleeding wouldn't stop. He had to be rushed to the infirmary. At that moment she froze for only 2 seconds. Then, without saying a word, she quickly crouched down and began treating his wound. Avi had been stunned, staring at the top of her head. When she finally finished and looked up, he realized her face was streaked with tears. She bit her lip, her eyes filled with pain, but she stubbornly turned away and wiped her tears, unwilling to let him see her like that. That image now overlapped completely with the woman standing before him. But this time she simply nodded lightly. "Wait here. I'll call a nurse." Avi stood frozen, watching her slender figure walk away. His injured hand clenched quietly at his side. Even if she didn't care about him anymore, he absolutely would not let go. Amanda Murmy, we once swore to get married, to stay together forever. I refuse to believe you've forgotten that. Before long, a nurse came running over to help dress his wound, but Amanda Murmy was already gone. Avi forced himself to hold back the aching sense of loss as he asked the nurse, "Oh, you mean Dr. Murmy? You know her. She's been busy all morning, didn't even have time to eat. Her fiancé brought her food and reheated it for her. She must have just stepped out to eat." Avi nodded silently, his gaze dimming. He then overheard two nurses chatting nearby. "Dr. Murmy's really lucky. Dr. William, he's young, already an associate professor, super handsome, and treats her like a queen. Yeah, we'll be drinking at their wedding this spring for sure. I heard their families arranged the match. A perfect pairing. Both families are prominent, and they've known each other since they were kids. I'm so jealous I can't even be jealous." Rip. Avi took a sharp breath. The startled nurse accidentally tugged at his wound. "Oh, sorry, I'll be gentler." He didn't respond. His dark eyes sank. Childhood sweethearts. So, she had been involved with that man for a long time? Was that why she'd left him without a second thought? The moment that thought surfaced, his brows furrowed deeply. How ridiculous. He was so consumed by jealousy, he'd let paranoia take over. How could he not know how much she once cared for him? Whispers buzzed in his ears, but his mind was a mess. He didn't want to hear another word. He stood up and walked out without even waiting for the nurse to finish. Just as he stepped out of the hospital, a figure in a nurse's uniform began secretly following behind him. Avi suddenly turned around and shoved the person into the corner, trying to restrain them, but the moment he saw the familiar face he froze. "Charlotta!" She hurriedly lowered her voice and snapped, "Let me go." He looked at her with a probing gaze. "Why are you following me?" Charlotta also worked as a nurse in this hospital. From the moment he walked in, she had noticed him. Having just been released, she straightened her clothes and scoffed coldly. "Brute of a soldier. I don't understand why my sister liked you." Avi furrowed his brows, his voice turning colder. "Do you have business with me? If not, I'm leaving." But Charlotta quickly changed her expression, grabbed his arm and smiled slyly at the corner of her lips. "Captain Sotha, I really do have something to discuss with you." He knew her family was trying to arrange a match between them. His tone became even icier. "Sneaking around to discuss what exactly? I'm not interested in you." But Charlotta wasn't one to back down. She had never really taken him seriously but still let out a soft chuckle. "I know you're just making excuses. Your real goal is to win back my sister, right?" Avi raised an eyebrow slightly. She continued, "Back at the military base, things between you two were progressing almost to marriage, right? So why did she suddenly return home? What happened?" He stared straight into the calculating look in her eyes, but she didn't flinch. In fact, she smiled. "You want her back, and I've got someone I like too. So let's cooperate. You help me get my guy, and I'll help you get your girl back." In the blink of an eye, spring arrived and the snow began to melt. Amanda Murmy had been studying under her professor for 2 months now. She had plenty of hands-on experience but still lacked research knowledge. Recently, her professor wanted to launch a new project. She had buried herself in studying materials and absorbing all she could. William Mully often found excuses to stop by, offering to help answer her questions. Sometimes he brought little trinkets. Other times it was a bowl of hot soup he had made himself. Her mother noticed and smiled knowingly, always finding reasons to step out and leave the two alone. Amanda, seeing this, looked helplessly at William. "Dr. Mully, he probably won't come anymore. You don't have to trouble yourself like this." She noticed a small burn mark on his hand from hot oil and couldn't help but frown. "Besides, you're a surgeon. How can you be in the kitchen so often?" The room was quiet. William looked at her intently. Do you really think I'm doing all this because of him? Amanda paused, then quickly shook her head. Then you're doing it for me? He replied firmly, no, that's not true. William Mully, as if teasing her on purpose, gave a slight smile and half knelt in front of her, his expression serious. But it is true.
I'm steady, considerate, respectful.
I treat you well, always put you first. Isn't that right? So, doesn't that make us a perfect match now? Amanda Murmy froze. Weren't those the exact words she had made up at the dinner table that night? So he'd heard it all. William noticed her blank expression and let out a soft chuckle. In his heart, he recalled memories from their childhood. Back then, their families had lived in the same housing complex. Little Amanda had loved candy, but after getting cavities, her mother banned her from having any. So every day, she would run over to his house, pretending to be clueless while sneaking candies from him. But her bright little eyes would dart back and forth, clearly giving away her intentions. Of course, he had known the whole time. He just let her get away with it because he liked spoiling her. And now in this moment she was still the same, silent and dazed. He didn't push her to say anything. He simply called her softly, "Little liar." She jolted, and a deep blush quickly spread across her ears. Lately, the hospital had been packed with patients suffering from colds, and work had become more hectic than usual. That night, Amanda trudged back to the on-call room exhausted. She took off her white coat, ready to head home, but her colleague for the next shift hadn't arrived yet. So she waited a while longer. "Cousin, good thing you're still here." A familiar voice came from the door. She looked up and saw Charlotta poking her head in. Amanda walked over. "What's wrong, Taliva?" Usually, Taliva worked in the West Wing's inpatient area and rarely interacted with her. To suddenly show up like this, something felt off. In truth, she had intended to say that Avi Sotha was waiting for her. But on second thought, if she said that outright, Amanda might not go. So she changed her words immediately. "Oh, Dr. Mully is waiting for you. He wants to take you home. But something came up, and he asked you to meet him in the office at the end of the second-floor hallway." Amanda paused. She was slightly suspicious. William was supposed to be on a business trip today, and his office wasn't on the second floor. But Tilivat quickly added, "He came back early, said he wanted to surprise you. Maybe he's going to propose." Before Amanda could think further, Taliva grabbed her hand and started leading her down the hallway. "Trust me, I just saw him. He even dressed really nicely today." Amanda, tired and confused, allowed herself to be pulled along until they reached the room. "Go on in. He'll be here soon. I have something else to do," Taliva said quickly, then slammed the door shut behind her. Amanda rubbed her forehead and looked around. It was called an office, but it looked more like a storage room. Tables, chairs, stethoscopes, and stacks of patient records all scattered in disarray. Something felt off. She turned to leave, but the door had already been locked from the outside. Amanda immediately sensed that something was wrong. The room was too dark, the flickering light on the wall throwing her back into the darkest corners of her memory. Panic surged. She rushed to the door, banging on it. Taliva, is anyone out there? I'm locked in." Outside the hospital, Charlotta walked briskly out of the building, her eyes landing on the familiar figure standing in the shadows. A satisfied smile tugged at her lips. "I thought you wouldn't come." Humph. Last night, she had called Avi Sotha to tell him about her plan. He had pretended to scold her, acted as if he disapproved. But in the end he showed up, right on time. "Captain Sotha, don't say I never gave you a chance," she said smugly. "I'm helping you because you're just too infatuated with my cousin." Avi's voice came from the darkness, cold and low. "Where is she?" Charlotta snorted. "What's the rush? Tonight, all the senior staff on the second floor are out in a meeting. The office area is completely empty. No one's watching. There's a supply room at the end of the hallway. I locked the door. Lights are off. You just need to sneak in, play the hero, rescue her, get a little close. I'll bring a couple nurses along. Happen to pass by and catch you two coming out in each other's arms. After that, do you really think she can keep working here? She'll have no choice but to leave with you. What did you just say? Avi's expression darkened instantly, his voice icy with rage. From the beginning, he had never agreed to any of Charlotta's twisted ideas. Last night she had warned him, whether he cooperated or not, she'd find a way to destroy Amanda's relationship with William Mully. That was the only reason he came tonight, to stop her. As long as he was present, Amanda wouldn't be in danger. But he had underestimated just how ruthless Charlotta truly was. She didn't just want to hurt Amanda. She wanted to ruin her job, her reputation, her entire future. In an instant, fury surged through him. Avi clenched his fists and shoved her aside, rushing straight to the scene. He knew better than anyone how terrified Amanda Murmy was of the dark. That final night at the base, when she was locked inside that pitch-black room, he had left her there. Even now, just remembering it made his chest feel like it was being torn open. The regret was maddening. But time couldn't be reversed. He couldn't go back and open that door. Couldn't pull her into his arms and tell her everything would be okay. But what if this time he was the one to open the door? What if he just happened to be nearby and rushed in out of worry? What if he was the one to save her? Could she forgive him even just a little? Would that ease some of this unbearable regret? Within minutes, Avi had already sprinted up to the second floor. But before he could reach the top, he heard the chaos. There's a fire upstairs. Thank God no one was inside. Who left rubbing alcohol lying around like that? This is serious. Boom. His mind went blank. His body froze. His heart stopped. In the next moment, he shoved his way through the crowd and dashed upstairs. Amanda! Amanda! The corridor at the far end was completely dark. Through the crack of the door, he could see faint sparks flickering. Avi's pupils contracted violently. He was practically losing his mind. He shouted as he banged on the door. Amanda, don't be afraid. Open the door. But the door was locked. Without a second thought, he threw all his weight into a kick. Bang! The door burst open, but the room was empty. Avisov, what the hell are you doing? A calm voice came from behind. Avi froze and turned around. He met Amanda Murmy's clear, steady eyes. She stood just outside the room, several doctors and nurses behind her, rushing to put out the flames. His lips parted. His voice trembled. Amanda, you're okay. The truth was she had been trapped inside. When the lights suddenly went out, and the door wouldn't open, she was absolutely terrified. But she didn't give up. She had banged on the door, screamed for help, and in just a few minutes, every awful scenario had raced through her mind. Then the door opened. It was William Mully. He didn't say a word. He simply pulled her into his arms, his whole body trembling. He, always so calm and composed, was more shaken than she was. His arms locked around her like he was afraid she'd vanish. The small fire had already been extinguished. Flames still flickered faintly in Avisao's dark eyes. She had been saved, but not by him. William Mully finished putting out the fire and immediately rushed back to shield Amanda. He held her shoulders tightly. She's okay, he said coldly, but I will find out who dared to touch her. In the dim corridor, two pairs of eyes collided, sharp as blades. But only for a moment. William wrapped his arm around Amanda and led her away. In the hazy distance, Avisotha remained frozen. He didn't chase after them. When she was first pulled from danger, she had stayed calm. But the moment she saw William Mully, a steady warmth spread through her chest. Her nose burned. She drew in a sharp breath, she almost cried. William looked down and tightened his embrace. "What's wrong?" he asked. "Are you hurt somewhere?" Amanda Murmy knew clearly that just now, Avi Sotha must have remembered that night. The night she was locked in a dark room, hoping he would show up and save her. But he didn't. That despair still haunts her like a nightmare. Every time she wakes, her pillow is soaked in tears. But now she no longer needs him. She stopped walking, silently wiped the mist from her eyes, then looked up at William Mully, who was watching her with concern. She smiled faintly. Thank you for always showing up at the right time. Thank you for always putting me first, my fiancé." Only after confirming she was truly all right did William relax, his brows finally easing. He looked at her for a long moment before suddenly asking seriously, "You're not just calling me your fiancé out of courtesy, right? I mean, I'm the fiancé waiting to be made official, right?" Amanda, tense just a moment ago, couldn't help but laugh. "Well then, would you like to make it official now, future husband?" Not long after, everything was brought to light. Charlotta adamantly denied everything, claiming she was just playing a joke on her cousin. But the fire in the hallway had in fact been caused by her recklessly leaving alcohol out, which led to the incident. The next day, she was fired from the hospital and faced a fine. Her mother cried and begged Amanda's family for forgiveness, narrowly avoiding jail time. But their reputation was ruined. No hospital would dare hire her again. Losing that golden job was like losing half her life. She and her mother became incredibly desperate, and any connection to the Murmy family was completely severed. Yet Charlotta still refused to admit her fault. The next day, she waited outside the hospital to block William Mully. Her eyes were red and watery, looking pitiful. "Dr. Mully, wait a moment. I just want to say one thing." William, carrying a lunchbox, cast her a cold glance. Charlotta choked with emotion. "Actually, I've liked you for a long time, even longer than Amanda. My mom said that if she hadn't suddenly come back from the military base, I would have been the one engaged to you." She clenched her fists, teary-eyed, tugging at his sleeve. "You don't know, back in the military base she had such a terrible reputation. She and that guy Chu, they did all kinds of things. After playing around for 3 years, she just ran back. She's not who you think she is. You shouldn't marry someone like that." William suddenly flung her off. His eyes were sharp and icy, his voice colder than frost. "Who do you think I am? Do you think I'm someone your family can just hand a fiancé to at will? Amanda is the person I've been waiting for. No one knows better than me how incredible she is. And you? You're not even worthy of a single strand of her hair. You've lost even your self-respect. And you still dare to slander your own cousin? The Murmy family may forgive you out of blood ties, but I won't." With that, he turned and walked away with firm steps, heading off to deliver lunch to his fiancée. Not long after, Amanda Murmy heard that Charlotta had been held in administrative detention for 3 days. Even though it was only administrative for someone like her, it was a huge fall. From then on, her chances at a good marriage were nearly gone. To her, this was the greatest consequence. She dared scheme against her own cousin, so their relationship as family was over from that moment. Amanda merely heard the news and didn't bother with it. She continued focusing on her research. Avi Sotha came to the hospital once more. Although the incident wasn't directly his doing, he still felt deeply guilty. He apologized to her. "Amanda, I truly regret it. I sensed something was wrong back then. If only I'd warned you instead of keeping it quiet, trying to handle it alone. Maybe you wouldn't have had to be so scared." What he didn't say aloud was what he regretted even more. That dark thought that surfaced in his mind at that moment. He had even deluded himself into thinking he could use the incident to make up for the hurt he had caused her. Amanda shook her head and replied, "This has nothing to do with you. I'm not the kind of person who blames everything on an ex." Hearing her say ex, Avi's breath suddenly grew heavy. His eyes were dark like ink locked onto her. His voice was full of pain. Do you really not need me anymore? 3 years ago, if she had seen him look at her like this, her heart would have softened instantly. She would have felt moved and hurt, unable to resist throwing herself into his arms. But now, Amanda simply smiled faintly and replied calmly, "It's all in the past. I'm truly happy now. I hope you can learn to cherish what you have." After speaking, Amanda Murmy turned to leave. Behind her, Avi Sau's voice called out, as if he was struggling to suppress his emotions. "Amanda, never forgive me." She paused slightly but didn't look back. She kept walking. Yes, she would never be generous enough to forgive the pain he had caused her. But she would always remember the few good things he had once done for her. Those memories were like old photographs, meaningless now, tucked away in a sealed corner of her mind. It was time to start a new chapter. Lately, she had been so busy with a research project that she completely forgot her own birthday. That day, as soon as she left the lab, William Mully appeared holding a cake and a box of chocolates. "Hey, Dr. Murmy," he said casually. "Security just gave me this box of milk candy. Someone asked them to deliver it to you." After hearing that, William gave a faint smile, took the candy for himself and handed her the cake. "Here, you eat the cake. I'll take the candy." This type of candy had been a rare treat back when they were stationed at the base, and Amanda had loved it. She didn't expect that Avi Sotha would still remember, or even go out of his way to send her a box. Amanda immediately understood that William was jealous. She laughed and tugged on his sleeve. "You eat it all then. I'm just having the cake." A nurse on duty came over to join the fun, grabbing a few candies with a grin. "Dr. Murmy, you're really lucky. But I think Dr. Mully needs to keep an eye out. Looks like that military guy still hasn't given up yet. Though yeah, he is handsome, but honestly, Dr. Mully and you are way more compatible. Still, it's not bad when he sends over these fruit candies. We get to enjoy them too. Perks, right?" In a corner of the ward, a woman wearing a face mask quietly lifted her head and looked outside. "Hey Emily, why are you spacing out? Go wash that bedpan." Emily Baraborg lowered her head, her voice hoarse. "Yes, ma'am." She stood at the sink washing a foul-smelling pan. Her eyes glanced toward the nurse from earlier, a flicker of calculation flashing behind them. She asked in a deliberately casual tone, "Hey, is there a Dr. Murmy here who used to be stationed at a military base?" The nurse nodded, giving her a curious look. "Yeah, you know her?" Behind her mask, Emily's eyes darkened with malice, though her thick bangs concealed the look. She lowered her head and continued scrubbing, her voice dragging with false hesitation. "Of course I know her. She's the kind of woman who ruins other people's families, seduced a man behind everyone's back, even had an abortion while stationed at the base. Everyone knew about it." In the days that followed, Amanda Murmy began to feel something was off. Not only did a few colleagues act strangely around her, but even some patients looked at her differently. One day, the same nurse who had shared the candy ran over looking concerned. "Dr. Murmy, I don't know which heartless person is spreading nasty rumors, but don't worry, we all know what kind of person you are. Just try not to let it get to you." Amanda thought for a moment and asked, "What rumors?" The nurse leaned in and whispered. After hearing it, Amanda's face remained calm. She even patted the nurse's shoulder gently to reassure her. "I understand. Just keep doing your job." Soon after, William Mully also heard about it from someone else. His expression turned icy and he immediately came to find her. "Who's behind this? I swear I'll drag them out myself." Amanda recalled how a few days ago, she had passed by the hallway and glimpsed a familiar figure. Her brows furrowed slightly. I know who it is." But before she could confirm her suspicion, something happened at the hospital that afternoon. "Who switched my father's meds? Were they trying to kill him?" "You call this a hospital?" This is supposed to be a place that saves lives. An old woman sat collapsed on the floor, sobbing and screaming. Hospital leadership rushed over, their faces tense and serious. The woman, Emily Baraborg, had always believed that every misfortune in her life was Amanda Murmy's fault. She hated her so deeply that her whole body trembled, her face twisted beyond recognition by the bitterness that had carved itself into her very marrow. Amanda, cautious, stared at her, her hand clenching into a fist. "What are you trying to do?" Outside, the sound of pounding on the door echoed, but Emily didn't flinch. She suddenly let out a raspy, deranged laugh. "What do you think I can do? I've got nothing left. Not even a face, not even a child." She clenched her fists so tightly her nails dug into her palms, drawing blood. "It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, Avi would still treat me like he used to. I'd still be the sister he adored." Amanda couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. "Isn't it ridiculous? You brought this all on yourself. If you hadn't forced your way between me and him, you wouldn't be in this mess. As for the child, I never did anything. The one who decided its fate was Avi Sotha." Emily's face twisted further in fury. She screamed, "Shut up! You seduced him. If it weren't for you, he would have chosen me." Then suddenly, she pulled out a small knife hidden in her sleeve and lunged at Amanda. "I'll kill you." Everything happened in an instant. Amanda reacted quickly, stepping back, but the blade still grazed her arm. Blood soaked through the sleeve of her white coat. The pounding on the door became frantic. "Amanda! Are you in there?" William Mully's voice came through, filled with anxiety. "Stand back. I'm breaking the door." Emily panicked as soon as she heard his voice. She knew she was cornered with no way out. Her laugh turned manic, her eyes full of despair. "If I can't live, don't think you can live in peace either." She raised the knife again, this time turning it toward herself, aiming for her own stomach. But before the blade could strike, a loud crash shattered the moment. The door burst open. William charged in, grabbed her wrist and twisted it back. The knife clattered to the floor with a metallic clang. Amanda stumbled but fell into his arms. His hands were warm as they gently cupped her injured arm. "Are you hurt?" he asked, voice low but urgent. She looked up at his worried eyes and slowly shook her head. It was finally over. Emily Baraborg was arrested that very night. She would be prosecuted for intentional injury and attempted harm. This time no one, absolutely no one, could help her escape the consequences. Not even Avi Sotha, who hadn't shown up at all. He no longer cared. It was bitterly ironic. The man she once thought was her everything ended up abandoning her in the most ruthless way. A few days later, Amanda's injury began to heal. But William still wasn't at ease. Every day, he insisted on personally changing her bandages, putting on a deliberately stern face. "Your hand's still healing. No surgery for now. I'll handle everything." Amanda chuckled. "So I'm just a lazy doctor now?" "That's okay," he replied coolly, though the tips of his ears flushed red. "Dr. Mully can support you." Amanda looked down, smiling to herself. Her heart felt warmer than ever before. Perhaps this was what it truly meant to be loved. That spring, Amanda and William officially got married. The ceremony was simple, but full of warmth. There were no over-the-top vows, no extravagant promises, just the two of them standing hand in hand, gently whispering, "From now on, I'll always be by your side. Then from now on, I'll always be by yours." They looked at each other and smiled, eyes gleaming with happiness. The past had come to a close. What lay ahead was all that mattered now. In the hospital room, soft light bathed Amanda Murmy's pale face. She lay on the bed, her hand still tightly gripping William Mully's long, slender fingers. She didn't care that his forehead was beaded with sweat, that half of his face was smudged with soot. He sat patiently by her side, never once pulling away from her grasp. The doctor had said she only suffered mild smoke inhalation. With rest she'd be fine. But just moments ago in the emergency room, each time she closed her eyes, William's brows would knit together like he was terrified she'd vanish. Amanda opened her eyes, her voice hoarse from coughing. "Aren't you going to wash your face?" William didn't respond. He simply tightened his hold on her hand. Outside, a tall figure stood frozen for a long time. Avi Sotha stared at the scene before him, mind blank. He had thought he'd made it in time. But in the end, he wasn't the one who saved Amanda Murmy. He wasn't the one she fell into. He wasn't the one whose hand she refused to let go of. His chest ached like it was being crushed. He couldn't breathe. Slowly he stepped back, as if stepping out of a ridiculous dream. He had come too late. Far too late. 3 days later, Avi returned to the military base and submitted a request for transfer to the border. No one knew what he was thinking. They only knew that from that day on, the base no longer had the arrogant but emotionally oblivious Captain Sotha. At a distant border post there was a soldier who worked without rest, like he was trying to make up for a lifetime of mistakes. But no one needed him to atone anymore. Because Amanda Murmy had already reached for another hand, and was walking into the future with him. At the end of that winter, snow blanketed the earth in white. One evening, William Mully came to the hospital after finishing his shift. In his hand was a small gift box, which he set on the table in front of her. Amanda looked at him in surprise. "What's this?" William cleared his throat and said seriously, "Belated birthday present." Amanda laughed, resting her chin on her palm. "My birthday was 2 weeks ago." William pressed his lips together, his gaze deep and unwavering. "Then, let it be a proposal gift." Her heart skipped a beat. He opened the box. Inside was a delicate silver ring, simple in design but beautifully crafted. His voice was gentle, tinged with hesitation, as though trying to hide his nerves. "Amanda, will you marry me?" She looked at him for a long time, so long that she saw her own reflection in those vast ocean-like eyes. She remembered the 3 years she spent at the base, the nights trapped in cold, lonely darkness, the tears she shed for someone who never deserved them. But the man standing before her now, he was different. He was the one who always showed up when she needed him most, the one who always put her first, the one she could trust with the rest of her life. She smiled gently and held out her hand. "I will." Outside the snow kept falling, but in their hearts there was only warmth. Somewhere beyond that tender moment, Avi Sotha stood in silence watching. Once again he had arrived too late. He was always too late. Thankfully Amanda was safe. Who knew how long he had stood there like a ghost? Quietly he walked out of the hospital. A passerby gasped. "You're burned." Avi Sotha acted like he hadn't heard anything. His black eyes slowly closed. Then he turned and walked toward Emily Baraborg's hospital room. 3 days later, Amanda Murmy returned to work. William Mully, the one who had risked his life breaking down that door to save her, still hadn't fully recovered. His hand was injured, and his body had suffered multiple wounds, requiring him to take time off to heal. He used to be the one taking care of her. Now it was her turn to take care of him. Every day after work, she personally cooked nourishing soups for him. Every time she saw his hand wrapped in bandages, her heart ached with guilt. That was the golden hand. He used to hold a scalpel. But William put on a serious face and teased. "So are you feeling sorry for him or for me, Amanda?" She stayed silent for a while, then gently wrapped her arms around him. "I'm sorry." He lowered his head and kissed the top of her head, his deep eyes full of love and gratitude, though she didn't see them. His voice was soft in her ear. "There's nothing to be sorry for. I told you I'd protect you. I put you first. And I meant for a lifetime. Not just for a moment but every minute, every second. Amanda, I love you." A month later, Emily Baraborg was sentenced to life in prison for intentional arson. Avi Sotha visited her one last time. No matter how much she cried and begged, no matter how regretful she was, he remained silent. Just as she reached the brink of despair, her voice trembled. "Could you pity me just a little? Say something to me, one last thing." Avi. Tears spilled from her eyes, filled with hopelessness. "I just loved you too much. Everything I did was because I loved you." Avi's steps faltered for a moment, but he didn't turn back. He left her without a word. Because that wasn't love. And only now did he realize, his feelings for Amanda hadn't been love either. If he had truly loved her, how could he have hurt her over and over again? Even if he sacrificed everything, it would still be selfish. It wasn't love. Not long after, he went to the hospital for treatment for the burn scar on his shoulder. In the hallway, a few nurses were chatting excitedly. Dr. Murmy and Dr. William are handing out wedding candies. "Too bad I'm on shift tomorrow. I won't make it to the wedding." Avi Sotha stood there quietly, lowering his gaze. That night, as the bride-to-be, Amanda had to stay away from William to uphold tradition. He was a little annoyed. She had to coax him over the phone for a while before he finally laughed. "Tomorrow I'll come pick you up, my bride." Shortly after hanging up, there was a light knock on the door. Avi Sotha stood outside in the dark. His voice, indifferent, cut through the silence. "She once wanted so badly to marry me. Even if I ran from the wedding, it wouldn't have mattered. I would have come back eventually. Is anyone out there?" Amanda's best friend stepped out into the empty hallway, confused. Inside, Amanda calmly applied a final coat of lipstick and looked at herself in the mirror. "Probably the wrong room," her friend said. Then she turned back and handed Amanda a small, delicate box. "No one's there. Just this. Someone probably left it for you." Amanda blinked, then took the box and opened it. Inside was a brand new red sweater. Simple in pattern, a little clumsy in stitching, but clearly made with care. Her fingers brushed gently over it. Her eyes grew slightly red, but she smiled. "It's beautiful." Her friend peeked over and scoffed. "It's all right. But really, a red sweater? In spring? Bit off season, don't you think?" Amanda gently closed the box and looked at her reflection in the mirror, smiling softly. "You're right. Now help me try on the wedding dress." The red sweater belonged to the past. Tomorrow, she would wear her wedding gown and walk toward the man she would spend her life with, a lifetime of happiness, without fear or sorrow. Dear listeners, today's emotional love story comes to a close. If it touched your heart, please don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel to support our team in bringing more tender, unforgettable stories to life. Wishing you endless joy, gentle days, and a heart always filled with love. Until we meet again in the next story, take care and stay inspired.